Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Our Lives, your weekly podcast where we talk to real people about the things. So this week, we're very lucky to be joined by Kath Vero, founder of Slow Shopping. We're lucky to have Kath with us. She's turned a sad experience of a mum's dementia into a real positive and is now on a mission to make shopping an inclusive experience for everybody. So welcome to the studio, Kath. How are you today?
I'm very well, and thank you, Vicky, for having me on this. I'm very excited to be part of your work.
Fantastic. So explain to us, what is slow shopping?
Well, the idea of slow shopping is to have a time in the week when retailers or businesses offer a more enhanced environment for anyone who needs it. And that might be, for instance, a supermarket might not play music, or they might have more chairs. It's a concerted effort to support people who might find going shopping challenging.
And who might find going shopping challenging? I know for me, I rush around. I'll be really honest, and I'm sure some of our listeners or followers may feel this as well. I get quite frustrated when I'm shopping. I'm in a hurry. I've got to take the kids to their training events. I'm rushing around, and there's people who are slower than me, and I fully admit I am one of those people who does get frustrated. So, what are the challenges for some of those people, and who are they?
Well, I think there's a wide variety of people who find shopping challenging. I think that the environment can be very busy, and as you say, that's quite fine that people who are busy need to get through a shop quickly. But for some people, autistic people, carers with some with a disability or anxiety. I've met people with OCD, people who have got mental health issues, find some of the stimulus in shops quite overwhelming, and they need to be able to have time to process what they're going to do. So the idea behind slow shopping is that there is at least 2 hours a week, every week, when everything takes a step back and the staff are aware and there's training provided to support them so that it's a calmer atmosphere in which people can process what they need to do.
Okay, that's really interesting. And Kath, where did the idea for slow shopping come about? Because this is quite an unusual thing to take up a mission on. So how did you get involved in slow shopping?
Well, I cared for my mum who had dementia. She's now passed away, but at the time, shopping was she liked it. You know, we went every week. We went and had a cup of tea in Marks and Spencer's, and we used to go shopping. And it was a nice activity that she understood. We got out and about, we saw people. But as her dementia got worse, it got increasingly difficult to do that. My mum would need to leave the store, or she would suddenly need to go to the toilet, or she wouldn't understand why she couldn't pay with her card, because she might have bought a library card or she might have bought something else. So I had to manage her illness, my reaction to her illness. I had to manage myself, my feelings of embarrassment. And then all around me, it seemed that other customers, and the shop were not supporting me. And I was left feeling quite upset when I would come home. And I thought about this, and I thought, there must be other people that this is happening to. And I'm quite a confident person, but I couldn't manage this situation myself. And I didn't know what to do. And after my mum passed away, I thought, is there a possibility? Is there a way of improving the situation for other people? And that's when I came up with the idea of slow shopping. And the idea of slow comes from the slow food movement, really, where you take time to harvest food, to prepare food, to cook food. you can't do that for every meal, but it's a nice thing to do when you can, and it makes the time special. So that's why I called it slow shopping.
Fantastic. I think what you said, it does make me think, because I am one of those people that's always rushing around and in a hurry to get everywhere, is actually to take the time and to stop and to think, and also to think about how spaces don't just belong to me. I'm in a hurry, but also there's a consideration for other people and what their experience is. And I can kind of relate to the care of my nine, my grandmother, for those of us who aren't Welsh. She had dementia, and she did used to like to go shopping, but it did become increasingly difficult at that time. So I think this movement to make these spaces more inclusive is a real positive for people who, and I'm sure many of our listeners are experiencing this in their own lives. And with the increase in dementia diagnosis, this is something that's going to keep cropping up more and more. What sort of traction have you had with slow shopping? Have you had a good uptake in supermarkets, shopping centres, and so on since starting this?
Well, so there's a story before COVID and after COVID. So before COVID, we were getting really good traction, and we were starting to work with groups of organisations, which is really the way it works best. Because if one shop is offering time but nobody else is, then that one shop will benefit from people coming to it. But if a number of shops are working together, it means that a person can go to their local high street or their local town or their local village and know that they can go to the solicitor, they can go to the bank, they can go to the supermarket, and there will be an emphasis on supporting anyone who needs it. So before COVID, there was quite a number of organisations that were working together. I was working with IKEA. In Stirling, I was working with the local city council. So the whole city was going to adopt it. In Cranley, I was working with the whole village and the high street. So there were big groups working together. Obviously, in COVID, we went to lockdown, so people couldn't go out shopping. And the retail industry has taken a backward step really in trying to reorganize, because lots of people have gone online, and they are trying to look at ways forward. So we haven't got as many people involved now, and that's what I'm trying to do really, is to get people back involved and back offering this, because more and more people are asking me about it. And there's definitely a need to have this provision.
Definitely. Also, from what you're saying, it sounds like sound business sense, because I'm sure there's hundreds, thousands, if not millions of people who would benefit from that, would actually go out shopping, physically shopping more and more, as opposed to having to rely on online shopping. And we know that while online shopping is very, very convenient, older people in particular are feeling more and more isolated through not being able to go out, to interact, and to continue their daily lives and have that level of independence that I think prior to COVID was there, that isn't now.
Well, I absolutely. So that in a way is almost the most important thing about it, is physically getting up, getting dressed and getting out of the house, going for a short or a longer walk, getting a bus, going into town. All these interactions maintain our health, they maintain our connection to our community, and it makes commercial sense because people are spending money in the shops. And when you go into a shop, I mean, I'm terrible for this. I go in and I mean to get cheese and ham and bread, and I come out with 3 packets of cheese, ham, something else, a pudding, a cake, and something else, because I saw it. So when people go shopping, they engage with what the shops have got, that display of seasonal fruit or seasonal produce, and they maintain their own health and independence. So it's both things really. From a health point of view, to be physically outside is really important. shopping is a purposeful activity. It's a safe activity. You go into a warm place. And then from the retailer's point of view, the retailers that I worked with found that their footfall went up. In some shops, the footfall didn't go up so much, but the spend went up. And they felt that that was because there was seating available. So somebody could sit down, take a breath, and then carry on with their shopping. So these small adjustments can make a huge impact on how people use the commercial space.
So if we just talk, that's a really interesting point about having a seat to sit down. So if you talk us through the adjustments that are made, and I can very, very much relate to going into the shop to buy one thing and coming out having spent £30 and having several bags. I'm very, very guilty of that myself. If you just talk us through the adjustments that a retailer would need to make for any of our listeners out there who are interested and may want to consider taking this up in their local area. What are those adjustments, and are they big adjustments? Are they small things that make a huge impact?
Well, what I suggest is just small adjustments at the beginning to see that they're not expensive adjustments, but they're thoughtful adjustments. So seating is really important because many people would go shopping if they knew they could sit down, because some of the supermarkets are vast and they take a long time to walk around and you can't get to the other side of the supermarket. So when I'm working with especially big supermarkets, is saying, where could we put seating? And we plan where we put it. You always put it against a wall so it doesn't tip over, and you put it in the same place every week so that people get to know that if I go down the bread aisle, there's always some seats there. So people can plan their route around the shops. And with seating, I always say to put 2 seats together, because if you've got a friend or a carer with you, then you can sit together rather than just one seat, where if you are accompanied by a friend or a carer, they're just standing awkwardly by. So it just makes it a nicer experience. The other big thing is quiet. So having a time where the tannoys are off, except for emergencies, obviously, no music, and especially at this time, Christmas, the
Very
poor
loud at
people,
Christmas.
it's just awful. And anybody I say, if they could turn the music off, most people say, oh, that'd be so lovely, because it's such an overwhelming experience having this music. It's often ill-conceived music. It's either a tempo that doesn't suit you, or it's a type of music you don't like, or the speakers are not very good. So having time when there's just no music playing, no tannoys, as I say, and then a number of stores stopped doing the picking that they do for their online shopping. So the reason for that is they bring out these big trolleys, they're called rumble trolleys, and they make a lot of noise. And so that the store itself feels more peaceful. And so you can then concentrate on what you want to do. So those are the 2 big things. And then what we look at really for stores is signage. Is the signage good? Is the signage to the toilets good? Can people find them? And so we look at that kind of thing. We look at where things might litter the floor. Sometimes when you go into some places, there's lots and lots of stands and bits of equipment that people have to negotiate to get round. So it's just considering where things are placed in the shop, because like anyone, you stop seeing it when it's been there a long time. So it's just considering, does that stand need to be there in the doorway? Could we move it so it's easier for people to get through? So it's really small adjustments like that. It's not expensive things.
These sound like adjustments to me that actually don't just benefit people who have perhaps additional needs. These sound like adjustments that I would actually enjoy if I was shopping.
That's right.
That
That's
positive
right.
impact on me. And I
Yeah.
do think you're right. I think that we're so used to the chaotic environment. I've spoken to shop staff when I've been in there, and they've had a particular radio station that their store plays on repeat. And I know by the end of the day that some of them would willingly rip the tannoys from the wall and throw them out of the window because they've had to listen to that constantly throughout the day. So it sounds a lot to me like these are things that we would all benefit from, but none of us would ever think to ask.
No.
I think you're right as well. Around this time of year, when there's relentless Christmas music playing, whether you love Christmas or you don't love Christmas, it's still it can be quite overwhelming. What would you ask for people who are listening today? What is your mission? What are you trying to do? What would you like to see happen?
Well, thank you. What I would really like to invite people to consider is to work together to provide a quieter atmosphere and a calmer atmosphere for people and communities to use. And what I mean by that is, and I usually suggest a Tuesday afternoon because that's an easier one for retailers to embrace because it's a quieter time in the week. So it's not to put extra burden of work on the staff in the shops, but it's just saying it's a quieter time anyway. Could you put out some chairs and could you consider that and to turn the music off every Tuesday afternoon? And if every shop did that, then I think we would see a transformation in how people use that shopping time, and maybe it would migrate into other times and shops would see that people enjoy shopping under this environment, but also it would be inclusive for people who are finding this whole experience quite overwhelming, and therefore they don't go shopping, and they have the money to go shopping and they would like to go shopping, but they have to ask friends to go for them, or they have to do it online, and that isn't as satisfying for them, or I don't think for the retailers. So I think what I want to do is to join the dots. I'm very aware that some shopping centres have specific hours which are quiet. Sometimes they're early in the morning, and then you'll have another place that does something on another day. And really what I want to do is join it together so that it's not early in the morning, it's when people are up and about. So it might be from mid-morning or late morning onwards, and we're all working together as opposed to a disaggregated, fragmented approach where somebody does a little bit of something and somebody else does something else. So slow shopping is really about
each other. Yeah.
Let's join it together and make it work in your community.
What can slow shop in your organisation? What can you do to support anybody who's listening that thinks that they would like to bring this to their area? What can you offer in terms of support or advice or guidance?
Well, I've together with some other people written a guide for retail spaces. So either slow shopping, we can come out and support people, or we can send you the guide and then give you a support online like this, like in a Zoom call or something. So we can discuss the actual environment in your own retail store, because not everything is possible in every shop, and some shops and some organizations can offer even more. So it's tailored to what a shop can offer, but I've got a guide onto how to do this and to talk to your staff and maybe do the dementia friendly training, if that's possible, and then look at communication, how we communicate with people. So there's an awareness of the customer service, and then the environment that the customer's in.
Fantastic. What advice would you give? Because I'm fully bought into this mission now, and I hope that anybody listening who thinks this is a great idea is going to get in touch with you. What we're going to do is we're going to put your details and the slow shopping details in the show notes, so anybody can reach out to you if they'd like to find out more, or if they'd like to actively take part in a trial anywhere in the UK. What advice would you give in the meantime, Kath, while we're waiting for this to take off? Is if you are caring for somebody who has dementia or autism, what advice would you give to try and make their experience a little more comfortable, a little more inclusive in the meantime? Is there anything people can be doing while we're waiting for this movement to spread?
Well, I think that's difficult for an individual. That's the reality. But maybe
Yeah.
to talk or ring their local supermarket, talk to the customer services people who are really lovely. And in lots of shops, there are customer champions. They're usually called champions. Sometimes they're called community champions. They're called various things. And talk to them because they may be able to offer you something that you're not aware of. They're doing a lot of good work. They can support with shopping. They can support in lots of ways. So I suppose what I'm trying to do is join it up so it's more explicit. But if you have a local supermarket that you use, ring them up and say, look, we'd like to come and these are our needs, and they will help you. I'm sure of it because they are very, very thoughtful about their customers.
Fantastic. And like we discussed earlier on, I think it makes good business sense
Yes.
to be more inclusive, to be more open and really to understand all the different customers that they have in store.
Yeah, that's their expertise, you see. Their expertise is customers, but they've
Yes.
created an environment which doesn't suit everyone. So with just a little tweak, we can make it a lot better.
And it is just that, it's small tweaks that are going to make a huge difference to people who are shopping.
Yes.
Well, this has been really, really interesting, Kath. We're going to put all your details in the show notes, and hopefully we'll get lots of people reaching out to you to find out how we can implement this in your area. And I hope that you'll come back and talk to us again once this is taken off, and we can perhaps do some filming in store and
Yeah.
experience what it's like when these changes have been made. Thank you to everyone for listening.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Kath. Please hit follow and subscribe to continue listening to this podcast. And we'll see you again very soon, Kath.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. It's been lovely to talk to you about it. Thank you.
Take care. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.